Good evening and welcome to SnapShot. Tonight, the facts of Victoria's violent crime wave have been laid bare with the release of the state's annual crime statistics. Data from the Victorian government's own crime statistics agency painted a grim picture. It revealed that 638,640 criminal offences were recorded in Victoria in the 12 months to the end of June 2025. That's an increase of 86,587, or 15.7% from the previous year. Adjusted for population growth from the previous year, that's a 13.8% annual increase, with 8,998.9 offences committed per 100,000 people in this state. 33,018 motor vehicle thefts were recorded. That's an annual increase of 9,786, or 42.1% growth. It is the highest level of motor vehicle thefts since 2002. 41,667 retail store thefts were recorded, an annual increase of 9,004, or a 27.6% increase. 58,593 other theft offences were reported, an annual increase of 7,931, or 15.7% growth, with petrol the most common item stolen in this category, 5,891 annual increase, with an increase of 1,188, or a rise in 25.3%. 11,075 prohibited and controlled weapons offences were recorded, an increase of 1,146, or 11.5% growth. Victoria Police intelligence indicated that in the previous 12 months to the end of August, they had seized almost 11,000 edged weapons. Offences committed by children, i.e. those under the age of 18, accounted for 12.8% of all offenders, but child offenders were overrepresented in serious and violent crimes such as robberies, up 62.2%, aggravated burglaries up 47.7%, and car thefts up 26.4%. There were 1,128 child offenders who committed a combined 7,118 offences, with total arrests increasing by 26.7% from the previous year. However, there were 149 fewer child offenders reported from the previous 12 months, which demonstrates that repeat child offenders are responsible for the increase in youth crime. The machete amnesty began on the 1st of September, with 40 machete amnesty disposal bins set up at local police stations across the state at a cost of $325,000 per bin, which is $13 million in total. The last state government update claimed that 1,386 machetes had been disposed of, plus 3,400 from retailers. The machete amnesty runs until November the 30th. Yet, on the evening of Saturday, the 6th of September, the state of Victoria and the nation was horrified by the most barbaric machete stabbing deaths to date. 15-year-old Dao Akong and 12-year-old Chol Archek in Cobblebank in Melbourne's west were attacked by a gang of 8 masked men armed with machetes as they got off a local bus after a basketball match. They both died from their injuries in front of local neighbours. Victoria Police have since arrested and charged 8 people with murder. The 3 adults who have been charged with murder are Prince Kontek, age 19, Peter Addo, age 18, and Abdul Soros, 19. The 5 underage accused cannot be named for legal reasons. All were remanded in custody, which some would say is a miracle in the state of Victoria. Prosecutors have requested 16 weeks for Victoria Police to compile their evidence. They won't face court again until next year. The names of the victims and the names of the 3 adults charged with their murder are all African-sounding names. In 2024, African youth accounted for about 50% of young people in custody in Victoria. That's up from 4% in 2012. It should be noted that the victims' parents deny that they were part of a youth gang, and police believe they were victims of mistaken identity. The Allen government's much-touted tough new bail laws, which were passed in March this year, are having an impact. The number of adults remanded in custody while awaiting trial has increased by 22%, and the number of youths held on remand has increased by 26%. This year's state budget allocated more than $700 million to increase bed and staffing numbers across the prison system. Job ads for prison officers are being advertised with no experience required, with salaries of up to $91,000 offered, with an $8,000 signing bonus. The state government has been warned that prisons could be full by the middle of next year. Cell shortages will not be helped by the closure of the 1,087-bed men's Port Phillip prison in Truckanawa by year's end, transferring prisoners to the new 1,248-bed Western Plains Correctional Centre in Lara, in between Melbourne and Geelong. Construction on this new $1.1 billion prison was actually completed back in November 2022, but only started housing prisoners until this year. There has also been talk of reopening the closed Mainsbury Youth Justice Centre, which was replaced by the 130-bed, $419 million Cherry Creek Youth Justice Centre in 2023. But if you look at the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen's social media feed, she is more interested in talking about anything other than the state's violent crime crisis. Her first press conference post the deadly Cobblebank machete attack was to announce her government's Indigenous Treaty Bill. She then travelled to China for 5 days and promised to bring in more international students and tourists from China. She ordered 4 tunnel boring machines for her $35 billion suburban rail loop East project. She also announced that a Chinese firm, which is accused of using Uyghur slave labour would build the new Kiowa Valley Battery Energy Storage System. Given its AFL Grand Final day tomorrow, she spruiked a rebuild of the Melbourne Cricket Ground, which, if it includes adding a roof, would cost $6 billion. Jacinta Allen will certainly hope that next year her tough bail laws will bear more results in the lead up to the November 2026 state election, given that she seems incapable of talking about crime and wouldn't want it to become an election issue. However, despite the crime crisis, increased electricity prices, the big build blowouts and corruption, her Labor government is maintaining its lead in the polls. I'm Tim Wilms, and that's Snapshot. Go Lions, go Storm. Good night.